and price had so much trouble getting through it, is if you go back to 2021, just before the big run up to 65,000, you could see that low right there.
Yep.
Then we go right over here. That mid-cycle bull market cycle low was right there, and then right over here. So it made sense that Bitcoin again could go up into that level and then was rejected. Now, for me, I'm watching this 27,000 level super closely. Right now, we're just above it at 27,700 or so. If that breaks, that kicks off another round of selling that probably takes us to, it keeps big money out of crypto right now, right? I mean, you don't have hedge funds, you don't have a lot of these bigger players feeling comfortable to invest in it until the government unveils their CBDC, and then I'm sure it'll coincide with some regulatory stuff. So for me, that's a risk. And also, I look at the stock market and I see everywhere signs of complacency. The VIX being where it is, the pattern formation is a replica of the psychology of the market chart, where just before it has a major collapse. And so if the equity markets are going to drop big, 20-30%. I have a hard time believing Bitcoin is going to hold up in that situation.
Bitcoin is up around 1.7% for the day, but the fear and greed index dropped significantly from last week's greed level of 64 to today's neutral level of 52. If retail investors are getting scared of Bitcoin, what's happening next? Can Bitcoin hold these levels until the market sentiment changes, or is it falling again? According to Gareth Soloway from InTheMoneyStocks.com and VerifiedInvesting.com, there's a crucial level right now for Bitcoin, and if it breaks, we're getting a massive drop. So please pay close attention, as Gareth will now explain what he sees in the charts and make a new Bitcoin price prediction that may shock everyone. Not only that, but Warren Buffett may also impact how Bitcoin may move in the future, and we will get into that in a few minutes.
For me, I do see that there's going to be some continued rotation out of the banks in terms of deposits, but I do think at least the fear of losing your money in a savings or checking account is kind of now a distant memory, right? We've seen every bank that has failed so far. The Fed or the FDIC has said, hey, we'll pay out whatever the savings amount is, no matter if it's above 250 or not. So I think that aspect is gone, but I do think that there's so much dead weight on these banks, and I think there's even more to come with commercial real estate issues that are going to pop up later this year. So to me, I'm looking at a banking sector that is going to be what I would call zombie banks, meaning that they're carrying massive amounts of unrealized losses. They don't have to actually market these losses, but they are going to only grow over time. And at some point, that's going to be another pressure cooker on the system.
So if people are also afraid of banks, where will they put their money?
So I do think metals. I think gold obviously is a recipient of that in some respects. I think crypto has shown glimpses of being that with Bitcoin, and early on when the banking crisis hit a couple months ago, we saw a big pop in Bitcoin. The one thing I would just point out is that recently, as early as last week, I believe it was, we saw a couple banks down close to 50%. The banking sector was looking in trouble again. There were rumors about even more bankruptcies, and Bitcoin actually fell that day. And so what that told me is that while Bitcoin at some point becomes that store of safety, that hedge, it is still a risk asset, and people have to be careful of that. If the markets do start to dump out, I still think Bitcoin does head lower, and potentially much lower. Yeah, so the 30,500 level was just an absolutely impressive technical range on Bitcoin. And the reason why, again, that was such a wall and price had so much trouble getting through it is if you go back to 2021, just before the big run up to 65,000, you could see that low right there.
Yep.
Then we go right over here. That mid-cycle bull market cycle low was right there, and then right over here. So it made sense that Bitcoin, again, could go up into that level and then was rejected. Now, for me, I'm watching this 27,000 level super closely. Right now, we're just above it at 27,700 or so. If that breaks, that kicks off another round of selling that probably takes us to 24 to 25,000. Now, the one thing I will say, and this is something I continue to be overall still thinking this is a bear market in crypto, that this is a bear market rally. The thinking there is not only technical, meaning we haven't got through this 30,500 level, but it's also a concern based on what we're seeing in Pepe and based on some of these other speculative crypto assets. And again, you've been around a long time, Paul. when you see that type of speculation, that's not the bottom of a market, that's the top of a market. And that to me is a big issue that I hope investors really do recognize.
With that in mind, what is Gareth's vision for the crypto market as a whole, including altcoins and meme coins?
I think off of these levels, I'm still on a bearish position. And again, if we were to establish ourselves over that 30,500 level, I think things could change just a little bit in terms of the Bitcoin market maybe being in their bottom phase or having a bottom. But right now, I'm honestly, my biggest fear in the crypto market is twofold. One, it's that you don't have regulation yet, and the government is very. They're purposely delaying regulation to bring out the CBDC first, right? So it's the China playbook. And I know it's kind of crazy we're following China, but China outlawed Bitcoin. Then they brought forth the digital yuan, and now they're letting Bitcoin kind of come back again. The US government didn't take that's case, but what they're doing is they're not giving any clarity in regulation. They're saying, oh, it's a security, it's not, it's this and that, to the point where Coinbase has had to say, we're going to sue the SEC to figure out what the heck is what's going on here. That is on purpose so that they can launch their CBDC. And what that does is it keeps big money out of crypto right now, right? I mean, you don't have hedge funds, you don't have a lot of these bigger players feeling comfortable to invest in it until the government unveils their CBDC, and then I'm sure it'll coincide with some regulatory stuff. So for me, that's a risk. And also, I look at the stock market and I see everywhere signs of complacency. The VIX being where it is, the pattern formation is a replica of the psychology of the market chart, where just before it has a major collapse. And so if the equity markets are going to drop big, 20-30%, I have a hard time believing Bitcoin is going to hold up in that situation.
As we said a few minutes ago, Warren Buffett may also impact Bitcoin prices with his decisions. The reason is that Warren Buffett just dumped over $13 billion in stocks, signaling his lack of trust in risk assets. If Warren Buffett crashes the stock market, many retail investors will follow his moves, creating a giant hole in these companies. And as we know by now, Bitcoin still correlates with the stock market and the Nasdaq, so either everything crashes together, creating massive fear in financial markets, or people look at the other way around. If banks and stocks are not a safe option anymore, then it's the moment for Bitcoin, as a decentralized hard asset, to shine. But if everyone starts buying Bitcoin's lows by then, can it become the safe haven it was always meant to be and save everyone's wealth? What do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But meanwhile, let's hear what Gareth has to say about this and what Warren Buffett is doing.
A couple things stood out from their big meeting over last weekend. One was that they had no interest in getting into any of the banks, and I thought that was interesting because we think about some of where these regionals are trading, how discounted they look, and for Warren Buffett to not even be flinching at it and not even have any interest is very telling to me in terms of what he's seeing for the financial future of these banks and the financial system. So that kind of caught my attention because again, he was the one when during the Great Recession, he jumped into a bunch of the banks at these lows, like Goldman Sachs. He got the sweetest of deals and he was willing to do it back then. He's not willing to replay that this time. So I think that's something us as investors have to take into account. In terms of other areas of interest, it's hard to pinpoint what he'd be into, but I could see, biotech is kind of an interesting area if you're looking for kind of the safety of quality that pays a dividend, like an Amgen or something like that. Those type of stocks, I could see him potentially putting money to work in.
And let's end with a closer look at what's happening to prices with Bitcoin and Ethereum if the gas fees keep going up.
There's definitely the more uncertainty in the market, the more it's going to create hardships for price to continue up. And I think that's the biggest thing with Bitcoin and for the rest of the crypto markets. And by the way, I mean, I know you said we're going to get to gas fees, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how Ethereum has a major future when the gas fees are as high as they are. That's a big concern of mine. I've been a big fan of Ethereum, but that needs to be figured out. And again, we can get to that in a little bit. But going back to Binance, I mean, another issue out there that is going to make investors a little bit more hesitant with putting money into cryptocurrencies. And you just have to be careful in this scenario. we're basically seeing ETH. We had that kind of blow off top right at the highs that took us to just over 2,100. And now we're kind of stuck in this range. And again, you do have a level underneath here, this upsloping trend line in this flat area around 1825 or so. On a technical basis, that is what you want to see ETH hold. If it breaks that, you head to 1,700. That breaks, you're heading down to the 1,500s. But right now, again, you're in this sideways consolidation. ETH to me looks like it's struggling. Couple things that I didn't like about the price action here. When you popped up, you had a few sideways days, and then it reversed 100% of the move. Here was a nice green day, resistance, and it reversed that move right away. So it seems like right now when ETH is popping, it's getting slammed down very, very hard, which means big money is looking to unload in this range, at least for now. So I'd just be a little bit careful. I mean, those things are just standing out to me in terms of the price action. And again, just something for everyone to kind of pay attention to.
What do you think? Can the stock market crash also affect Bitcoin and Ethereum, or will it empower them instead? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more daily curated content to help you protect your wealth and profit from these times of uncertainty, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks.